Hi everybody, my name's Chris Ward and I'm one of the product managers for the Control product business, and in this video I want to show you how to set up the 3RW50 soft starter. So this is the 3RW50. It sits in the basic performance range of soft starter range with these two, 3RW30 and the 3RW40. You can't see any potentiometers on the front of this unit because they're actually under this flap here, which is on the front of the device. So we'll jump straight into it now and I'll show you how to configure the unit. So in device configuration, you can see here there's a couple of different things which you can have a look at here. You've got number 1 and number 2, so that's the main supply going in. Number 12 is the main supply which is going to be feeding the motor. Number 10 here indicates that you've got diagnostics and LEDs and also a test and a reset key. Number 11 here is the lead seal for the unit. Number 2 here, as you can see, these are the connections for the control circuit, which we're going to have a little bit look at in a little bit more detail. Number 3 here is a chart which depicts what you set in the operational current to. So that then they're numbered on here, and those numbers represent different amperages, and this is the table that deciphers that. Number 4 highlighted here is the test and the reset key. Number 5 here is the feed for the standard HMI or the advanced HMI. Number 8 here is the connection to either it's for communication module. That could be for Profinet, Profibus or Modbus. Number 9 here shows you what type of connections you can make with what conductors and what sizes. Here, number 7 is the mode key, and number 6 here are the potentiometers which you can set, and they're very similar to the 3RW40. You've got a ramp down function, the starting voltage, the ramp up time, you've got the current limit function, you've got the operational current of the motor, and then you've got the overload integrated into the unit as well. So the terminal configuration here, as you can see, number 2 is the control circuit A1 and A2. Number 3 is the in signal. So to start the 3RW50, the A1 and the A2 terminals have to be on, and also this in signal has to be activated as well. So without either of those two, you wouldn't get a start. Number 13, 14 and 23, these are signaling contacts for how the device is running. You have an on and run signal, but you also have a bypass signal as well, which you can connect in. So just two different methods of signaling there. Number 95, 96 and 98 are specifically for signaling for faults and warnings. So I mean, it doesn't tell you in great accuracy what those faults and warnings are, but you could link that up to an output, which could be an illuminated push button, which would signal to an engineer that there was a fault or a warning that they might need to look at. T11, 12 and 22, these can either be a thermoclick or a thermistor sensor, or you can even have that as an analog output, so you can monitor the voltage or current through an external device, whether that be a current meter, an amperage meter or a voltmeter. In here we have a wiring diagram also, so the wiring diagram goes into the specifics of how you typically connect a device up. So this shows you the main circuit. So on the main circuit we've got a 3RV motor starter protector, we've got a soft starter, and then we've got the motor, and that's a typical configuration for a type 1 layout. If you had type 2 perhaps, you might have two forms of fusing in here. So the difference between type 1 and type 2 is that if you use type 1, if you have a short circuit, this device, the soft starter, might have to be replaced. If you go for type 2 coordination, the soft starter won't be compromised, and all you have to do is change the short circuit protection, and that's typically fuses. So the idea is that if you've got a soft starter which is rated at say 315 kilowatts, that's quite a high value item. You'd probably go with type 2 coordination. Whereas if you've got a low value 5.5 kilowatt soft starter, you might opt for a 3RV motor starter protector because you've got to weigh up the costs. And typically if you've got the fusing which is costing more than the soft starter, the more viable option would be to use the 3RV motor starter protector instead of semiconductor fuses to protect the internal components of the soft starter. So how does this work? Well, you can see here on this side you've got the control circuit layout. So typically you've got a start command, a stop command, and a reset command. So here you start and you stop connected to this in terminal here, and you've also got a reset command which is connected through from your A1 and your A2 terminals. So if there's a fault or a warning and the device stops, or perhaps there's been an overload, what you have to do is you have to acknowledge that, and you do that by pressing the reset button. And if that is pressed for a time which is greater than 4 seconds, the fault will be acknowledged, and then you can then make a start again. So if you press start through S1, that will automatically trigger an initiation of the motor, providing that there's no faults or warnings. To stop the motor, all you have to do is press this S4 key here. At the moment, we're in this configuration, we're not connecting up 95, 96 or 98, which indicates whether there's any faults or any warnings. On here, we're only showing when the device has been switched on, but you can again show that the device has been bypassed also if you wish to. And that basically explains how you would connect up the soft starter. In terms of commissioning the soft starter, it's highly recommended that you would use a HMI screen. That's because the old way of looking or identifying whether you have any issues during the commissioning process would be through LEDs on the front of the soft starter. They flash differently, the lights could be on permanently, they also indicate different colours, and those different combinations would indicate different faults. So it can be quite difficult and quite taxing of your time to look at the front of the unit to try and analyse what those faults are. Whereas if you go with an advanced HMI or a basic HMI, it'll give you an error code on this, or it'll give you a description on this as to what that fault is, so there's no need to decipher what those lights are. Another good reason why you might want to use these devices is that when you're setting the pots on the front of the unit for current, for the current limitation function, the voltage ramp, etc., you get a lot better accuracy because it gives you digitally what you are setting those pots to. So there's a lot higher accuracy by using these and turning the potentiometers and using this as a gauge for what you're setting those parameters to. So, I mean, the pots, the way that you'd set those parameters here, and again, the overload, the operational current of the motor, you've got here the ramp up time, the starting voltage, the current limit function, and the stopping time. Those devices, those settings that I've just mentioned are really quick and easy to be able to parameterize, and you can actually simulate that in the STS tool, so you can gain an understanding of what your parameters are before you've bought the unit. So if you haven't already looked at a previous video that I've done on how to program or how to select a soft starter and how to visualize the application and gain an initial understanding of the parameter sets, please look at that video because it gives you a good understanding of what you'd need to set all these parameters to. So you can just plug in the parameters from your simulated data from the STS. There is another feature here which is reset mode and soft torque. So soft torque is basically a smooth ramp up and a smooth ramp down feature, and you can access that through a key on the front of the device. And it is actually labeled on the front of it, reset mode and soft talk. We highlighted that before. So you can also use that same key to access reset mode as well. So reset mode allows you to reset in 3 different types. There's manual reset, so you have to manually acknowledge faults. There's remote reset, and then there's also automatic reset. So as soon as the fault's been clarified, it'll automatically allow you to restart the device without having to acknowledge the fault. So they're the main things that you need to consider when you're commissioning the that particular soft starter. So I hope you found the video useful. Please stay tuned for more because there'll be plenty more coming in the coming months. Thanks very much.